So how exactly does this 35-year-old guy who's married and has 4 kids invest every single cent of his investments? What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Average Joe Investor channel. My name is Joe, and in this video we are exposing every single investment account that I have to show you just how exactly I invest all of my money so that I'm as transparent as possible and you can get maybe just an inkling as to how you might want to direct your investments as well. Every situation is different. You may or may not be married. You may or may not have kids. You may or may not have a lot of assets and have different goals for the future. In this video, I will show you exactly where all of my money is invested, the actual investments that I own in every one of my accounts. I'll break down for you why I made the decisions that I made, and hopefully from there you can then make a decision on how you want to potentially direct your investments as well. You guys know how much I love to talk about investing and helping the average Joe invest as well, and I want to be as transparent as possible. So if you appreciate that, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get started. Hey guys, Joe here. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button below the video to make sure you don't miss any of my future videos. And if you do click that subscribe button, make sure to leave me a comment below saying you subscribed, and I promise to personally respond to your comment. All right guys, without any further delay, let's go ahead and jump right into the content. All right, let me just give you a brief outline of what investment accounts I have, then I'll go ahead and show them to you. But what I want to share with you first off, because I know that there are some people out there in my audience who have so much more money than I do, right? And they're younger or older than me. And then there are others that are older than me and younger than me that have less money. It's all about where you're starting on your journey right now. So please don't use this as a reason to be discouraged. The accounts I'm going to share with you today are all of my investments. I have nothing else out there except for what I'm showing you here. I have my 401k with my employer. Okay. Then I also have my dividend portfolio, which I've talked a lot about on the channel. I also have a Disneyland fund where we put aside money for our 2 younger kids and our trip to Disneyland next year. Additionally, I have my emergency fund invested as well, so I'll share that with you. Additionally, I also have a small Roth IRA account that is also with Fidelity. And then technically I have my 2 older kids UTMA accounts, which they have invested. It's not my assets, but it is taxable for me, I guess, so I'll share that with you guys as well. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into this here. First account I'm going to show with you is my 401k account. All right, so in my 401k account, it's right here, the retirement savings plan, I have a balance of $84,264.23. And year to date, I've earned 9.16%, and I've contributed $4,217.14. Now, it's important you understand here that that contribution amount is actually a mixture of my own contributions as well as my employee matching contributions. My employer happens to match up to 6%, so I invest 6% there, I get an additional 6% from the employer, and the rest of my money actually goes into other investments. Now, one of the things I talk about on my channel is, you know, I like dividends and I like cash flow, but I also talk about how you can definitely diversify your investments. You don't have to be all in on dividends or all in on growth. You can blend, and you can blend in different accounts as well. So in this particular retirement account, I'm invested in growth. Let me show you exactly where I'm invested here. Let me scroll down, and you can see here, not those, there's no balances in those. It is right here. I am 100% invested in the Vanguard Growth Index, VIGIX. The Vanguard Growth Index is only up 9.01%. But I rarely look at this investment, guys. I mean, this is the first time I've looked at it so far this year. It's just, I'm continually putting money in at the 6% rate, and it's gonna grow to whatever it grows to. I'm not gonna touch this money until at least age 59 and a half. So that's my 401k account. I have, like I said, $84,000 there. Let's pop over to my Fidelity account so I can show you my other investments. All right, so here's the dividend portfolio. You guys are very familiar with this one here. So this one has a current balance of, we just actually crossed over $100,000, $103,144.86. The reason why that popped over 100, I had about 95 previously. I had some assets over in my employee stock purchase plan that just exceeded 1 year, which means that I could actually sell it at the long-term capital gains rate. Those of you in the Patreon community know that I made a change in my portfolio, as I'll share that with you guys now. It's SCHD, the US Dividend Equity ETF, now makes up 20% of my portfolio, and I sold my bottom 5 yielding positions to go ahead and move those assets into a dividend ETF. You guys know I loved SCHD, so I went ahead and used that ETF. Then I've got realty income here. Here's that cash I need to invest, $7,332.20. Then I've got some of my higher yield investments here, Manulife Financial, AbbVie, Westlake Chemical, Store Capital, Eris Capital, First of Long Island Corporation, Unum Group, Star Group Unit, UGI Corporation, Gilead Sciences, WBA, Walgreens Boots Alliance, MSC Industrial, Broadcom, QYLD and RYLD, which is an addition to the portfolio. And then I've got 3 call options here. Remember, the dividend portfolio, for those of you that are new to the channel, has a very specific purpose, which is to help cash flow our family's 1-year-long RV trip around the lower 48 United States in 2024. So I'm very intentional with those assets. I want it to be able to produce enough cash flow to where I can quit my job, don't tell my employer yet, so I can quit my job and have a sufficient amount of cash flow between the dividend portfolio and YouTube income, depending on what that looks like in 2 years, and Patreon community income. So there's a very intentional purpose with this portfolio. Otherwise, you'd make the case that I should be putting as much in retirement accounts since I'm only 35 years old. So the dividend portfolio has a very specific purpose because I need the cash flow soon. That's why I'm investing a significant portion of my assets every month into the dividend portfolio. All right, next up here, this is a fun one. This is my Disneyland fund for our family. We took our 2 oldest boys to Disneyland, I think 2 years ago, and had a ball of a time, had a great time. And we were very intentional saving our money before that because we wanted to make it an amazing trip and not have to skimp on anything and just say, we don't normally live a lavish lifestyle, but we wanted to be able to make Disneyland a great experience for our kids. So we went ahead and put aside, I think, like $3,500 for that trip. And so now what we did is we went ahead and put aside about the same amount of money, and I decided to invest it in advance of our trip next year. So that account, as you can see right here, has a balance of $4,060.72, and it is 100% invested in QYLD. Why is that? Because I didn't want to get myself caught in the middle of a correction with a growth fund, and I just decided to keep, in case I wanted to move it out relatively quickly, I wanted to be able to have it in an investment that had a lot of cash flow. So I decided to go with QYLD. Doesn't mean that that's the perfect investment for this fund, that's just the one that I decided to go with because it's only gonna be an investment for about the next, I don't know, 12 months at the most. So as that money sitting aside there. Next investment we're gonna look at here is the Roth IRA account. This was actually a rollover 401k from an earlier employer that I haven't been actively contributing to. And the reason why is because in my 401k, I have the ability to do Roth 401k contributions. So I have that after-tax distribution, which makes the most sense for me right now because I don't need a significant tax break now. With the Roth IRA, I'm not contributing to it right now. It's just kind of sitting there and invested. And I actually made a video about this previously, so I'm not gonna hit this hard, but the investment breakdown here is 30% large cap, 30% mid cap, 30% small cap, and 10% international. The reason why I didn't go with the total stock market or the S&P 500 is because they are both capitalization weighted indexes, meaning that the largest investments have the largest weighting in the fund. And I wanted to have a little bit more control over the large to mid to small cap breakdown. So I went 30% large cap, and that is actually the Schwab Strategic Large Cap ETF. The mid cap is the Fidelity Mid Cap Index Fund. The small cap is the Fidelity Small Cap Index Fund, and then the international is the Fidelity Zero International Index Fund. So that's the decision I made for the Roth IRA. Like I said, I'm not actively contributing to this Roth IRA right now. It's just invested and it's growing. Okay, so next we have the emergency fund, and you guys know that I have a little bit of I made a video about this recently. I've had a little bit of a battle over time with whether or not I should invest this account because, you know, there's the Dave Ramsey perspective, which is you should have an emergency fund, and by the way, you should have an emergency fund. And you should have it 100% liquid. And that's or in like a high yield savings account. And that's the approach I've taken in the past. But really, in a time where we're really dealing with inflation, and for somebody whose job is actually relatively safe, at least that's, I guess a lot of people say that before they get fired, but I don't have any reason to believe my job is not safe right now. I have no problem investing my emergency fund. We have $10,000 set aside, which is about 3.5 months in savings for us when we factor in our necessary expenses and not accounting for potential unemployment and the fact that I also have YouTube income and Patreon income. So it wasn't as significant of a risk for me so that I couldn't invest the money. So I went ahead and based on my recent video, I actually followed that advice so you guys should know that I actually am doing the things that I talk about in my videos, okay? I want that to be very clear to you guys. So I was talking about using QYLD as a savings account, and I mentioned briefly that you could also utilize NUSI, which has that protective put, so some downside protection there, which is actually a benefit to have in my emergency fund. So I decided to go with 55% NUSI, as you can see here on the screen, and 45% QYLD. reinvesting dividends so that that balance exceeds 10,000, and that way I have a little bit of a cushion in case we have a correction. I don't really call these my assets here, but I'll show them to you anyway. My kids, both Kent and Josiah, both have their own UTMA investment accounts. Not contributing a ton to it, but they do have some money set aside here. So my oldest is Kent. He's got 100% of his assets, $214, in the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund here, and the same for my other son. He's got, I think, $45 in that account here. Really trying to kind of convey to them how important it is to start investing and that they have such a unique opportunity, being that they're 9 and 10 years old right now, that they can have these assets set aside that they can grow significantly over their lifetimes or in the next just 10 to 15 years. Although it can be kind of hard to break through to them the fact that once they put the money in these accounts, they really can't access it till they're at least 18, which must seem like a lifetime to a 10 or a 9-year-old. Those are my investment accounts, guys. Hopefully that brings some value to you and understands how my thought process is for investing. It's unique. Everybody has a unique perspective. As a 35-year-old who has some semi-short-term cash needs with the dividend portfolio, and I have long-term retirement assets, you can see that I'm 100% invested in the stock market, right? I'm not in bonds, I'm not in, other types of commodities or gold or anything like that. I'm 100% invested in the stock market. I'm a believer, even though we're at market highs right now, that long-term, the stock market goes up. And that's the approach I'm taking. It might make perfect sense for you, it might not. Everybody has unique circumstances. Make sure to leave your 2 cents in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what other types of videos you want to see more from me about. I'm more than happy to make videos you guys want to watch. That's all I got for you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great month investing for the rest of June. And please continue to stay healthy, both physically and financially. Have a good one.